Hi, I'm Father Jim Martin, culture editor of America Magazine. And this week in the current comment section, we're talking about a particular response to the child sex abuse crisis. And one of the things I think that is missing in this whole discussion has been the talk of penance. Now, Pope Benedict last week in his homily mentioned the need for penance, the need for the church and specifically individuals to do penance, which he said was not only necessary but was a grace. And I think that this is one of the things that's really been lacking. And one reason, I think, one of many reasons, I think, that victims are so infuriated at the actions of some of the bishops. Let me explain a little bit. I think the sacrament of reconciliation can really provide a model for us in terms of how to move ahead. So the sacrament, as you know, has several parts. First of all, you confess your sins and you seek forgiveness. Now, some of that has already happened. If we look at the United States, for example, there have been some bishops who have been very forthright. It may have taken them some time, but very forthright about confessing some of the sins and the crimes of the priests, the sexual abusers that had been covered up, and also priests who had been moved from parish to parish. So I think there has been some of that starting. Second, you have to have a firm purpose of amendment. Older Catholics will remember that terminology, meaning you have to have real contrition, and you really have to have a sense that you're not going to do the sin again. So, for example, if someone came into the confessional and said, well, I've done this sin, but I don't think it was so grave, or I'll do it again, that person wouldn't have a firm purpose of amendment. Now, where is the firm purpose of amendment in the American Church? Well, I think you can look at the Dallas Charter, the Charter for the Protection of Children and Young People that was put forth by the U.S. Bishops' Conference in 2002, and also the Office for Child and Youth Protection that the Bishops' Conference set up, and all of these safe practices that they have undertaken, as well as the zero-tolerance policy. So you can say that there is at least a beginning of a firm purpose of amendment. However, what about penance? I think that's really been missing. Father Tom Rees, writing in last week's America, said that he thought it was a scandal that the only priest to resign in the United States was Cardinal Law. And as most people know, Cardinal Law is working in Rome now, and he's on the Congregation of Bishops. So I think that people would like to see, you know, from the Christian point of view and from the point of the sacrament of reconciliation, some penance. Because penance, you know, as the Catechism tells us, is an important part of the sacrament. And also, the penance should fit, says the sacrament, it should correspond with the gravity of the sin. So if the sin is moving around priests in terms of the episcopacy, what would the penance be like? Well, that's not for me to say. I'm not the confessor of a bishop, and I'm sure that victims groups and victims' families and victims themselves would have some pretty specific ideas. But I certainly think that penance is necessary for the church to begin to heal. Some of the bishops, for example, in Ireland have already resigned. A friend of mine said that, you know, for a bishop, you know, who has done these things, who has moved priests or has in any way sort of avoided addressing the issue, something like working in a homeless shelter or working in a refugee camp or working with the sick. I mean, something that's real and something that's hard. If you went into a confessional and you confessed something awful like murder, a priest would never say, do a one Hail Mary. As the Catechism says, the penance should correspond to the gravity of the sin. And so I really believe that for healing in the church to begin, some sort of penance is necessary. Now, I'd also guard against the penance that some people put on the people of God. You know, frequently bishops say, well, we all need to pray for the healing of the church in the sexual abuse crisis, which I agree with. However, the idea that the laity somehow need to atone for the sins of the priests and the bishops, I think, doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think the penance needs to be done by people who were the ones who were sinning. So I think this is one way of helping to move the church ahead. It heals everybody. It heals the sinner, you know, the penitent in the confessional. It heals the community, and it restores our relationship with God. So for America Magazine, I'm Father Jim Martin, culture editor. Thank you for watching.